One of the things we love most about our Indian culture is how versatile it is. Just within one country, there are hundreds of languages and so many diverse communities and practices. Growing up outside of India helped both of us gain even more appreciation for all the amazing things that the culture has and all the beauty that comes along with it. But we've also had to make a greater effort to remember and practice all of those cool things. Making Indian food, listening to different genres of Indian music, checking out different Indian communities and stores in North America, and then just generally continuing to educate ourselves more on the history of where we come from. We really owe a lot of our perceptions and our habits to our parents because they really made sure we didn't lose touch with our background despite growing up physically away from it all. For example, we both always spoke Hindi at home with our parents, and even now, that's what helps us stay fluent and hopefully pass down the language to our own kids.
Making Indian food used to feel like such an uphill task, but after being on my own, I started to realize that you really only need about 2 or 3 basic staples in your kitchen. Also, Indian food is what I grew up eating, so making that and the smell of the spices feels very nostalgic. It kind of reminds me of my childhood, and honestly, I did not appreciate enough my mom cooking me 3 meals a day, if not more, and also going to work at the same time. I've started eating Indian snacks as well. So for example, I really like chana, which is chickpeas in English. So I let that soak in water overnight, and the next day I can season it with spices that I like, and voila, it becomes a healthy snack. I definitely feel like Indian food was slept on for the longest time, and people associate it with being unhealthy because of the food at Indian restaurants, but those are not really a good representative of the Indian home-cooked food we have, which can be really healthy if you want it to. This is probably TMI, but I really attribute my great gut health to Indian home-cooked food, specifically Bihari food. So I'm from Bihar originally, and in Bihar, a lot of our food is vegetable-based, and it's cooked with very mild spices like haldi, also known as turmeric, and I think haldi is our main spice ingredient aside from salt and pepper. So Bihari food, I would say, is pretty healthy. I'm sure there are other states that have healthy food options too, but that's the one I grew up eating.
Up until very recently, I used to think that cooking Indian food was so hard and complicated. I was always so intimidated by the number of spices involved, and it just seemed so time-consuming. But there came a point where I was just craving good home-cooked Indian dishes so much, especially my mom's cooking, that I just started experimenting and finding easy recipes, and then also asking my mom for hers. Even though both of us are North Indian, our families are from different states and communities, so some of our food and tastes differ based on what we grew up eating. I'm actually a little picky with my preferences in Indian food. I prefer really creamy and hearty dishes with beans and chicken or paneer, which is just cottage cheese. It's pretty standard for Punjabi food to include lots of dairy. It's why lactose intolerance isn't that common amongst Indian people too. Most people know Indian music for its Bollywood, pop, and beat style with so many colors and dancing involved. And it's actually one of the most popular types of music in the country. But it's basically equivalent to an Ariana Grande or Justin Bieber level of popularity. But recently we've both been exploring so many other genres of Indian music out there. Each region has a different type of folk music. There's rock and jazz and classical. And there really is something for everyone and every vibe, just like with English music. Nowadays, there are so many viral trends and adaptations of practices that actually originate in India. With everyone wanting to go organic and natural, a lot of people discovered home remedies and healthy habits that have actually been a part of Indian traditions for thousands of years. There's so many beauty hacks that both of us grew up doing long before people started raving about it on the internet. I used to get so annoyed as a kid when my mom told me to put on a hair conditioning mask or oil on my hair, and other practices like threading eyebrows and taking herbal supplements. All of these things were so normal to us growing up. I see so many people sharing recipes for homemade face masks with ingredients in your kitchen. And I remember my mom always saying, if you won't put it in your mouth, don't put it on your face. Because she always thought store-bought face masks were full of chemicals and did no good for your skin. So I got used to just whipping up a quick 2-minute face mask in the kitchen with literally anything I could find. Honey, milk, turmeric, chickpea flour, literally any natural ingredient. And now spices like turmeric especially are so popular because people are discovering its benefits. I don't think I've ever been at a cafe and ordered like a turmeric latte because it was always something my mom made me at home in a few minutes when I wasn't feeling well or I had trouble sleeping. It's so great to see people appreciating all of the benefits that these Indian traditions have to offer, but also a little funny since I'm just so used to it all.
As Indians, both our moms told us a lot about home remedies. As much as I hate to admit it, a lot of my mom's home remedies are actually very effective. There's this besan and dahi mix. Side note, besan is chickpea flour, which if you put on your face, it really makes you feel fresh and kind of acts like a toner. And there's so many other types of home remedies, but one that I kind of use on a regular basis is a neem paste for my pimples. Neem is really good for your skin or pimples in general, or for my skin at least, can't say for everyone else. And I'm not someone who had a lot of acne issues growing up, but I'd frequently get a pimple here or there, and that was a very good remedy for that. Now, body hair and I have a love-hate relationship. Being brown means we just have a lot of hair, and that is great for my head, but for other parts, not so much. I learned threading during my senior year of high school, I'd say, and learning that saves me a lot of money, to be honest, because hair removal can be very pricey.
I've always loved Indian TV and movies. I watched it all the time with my family when I lived at home, more so than anything English or American. For me, even now, watching Hindi language shows and films just reminds me of all the bonding moments I spent with my parents as a child. My dad especially is a huge film buff. He'll watch movies immediately after they come out and always be up to date on new releases, what's trending, who the actor was in that one movie from 10 years ago. Weekend nights growing up were always reserved for our family movie time, and that kept me informed and engrossed in Bollywood movies, both new and old. As with music, there are just so many different genres of Indian TV entertainment than just what's popularized, which are the fun, colorful musicals with lots of singing and dancing. Traditionally, romance has been one of the most common genres, along with action. But in more modern media, other forms have become popular too, like horror, sports, historical, and many others. It's such a creative industry that's always changing and growing, and as a viewer, there's always something new and interesting to watch.
Luckily, Netflix, Prime, and other online streaming services have a lot of good Hindi shows and movies these days. It's nice having such easy access to Indian movies and shows because it kind of helps me feel connected to what is going on in India. I may not live there, but I do feel like these shows and movies kind of show what's going on. For example, I watched this show called Little Things on Netflix, and it was so interesting to see young adults like me living in India. It kind of made me realize it isn't that different from the life around me here. Another good show I watched was Kota Factory, which reminded me how intense and stressful the education system in India is. And that, on the other hand, acted as a reminder of how different my life is. We cannot imagine all these cool Indian traditions and habits not being part of our life. Our culture has definitely shaped a huge part of our personality. We really hope that more and more people get to experience and enjoy all the fun and beautiful things Indian culture has to offer. It can definitely be hard sometimes being Indian, but not having ever lived there. However, I do think our strong cultural background helps us experience the world from a different set of lens and also learn about other cultures while having the Indian identity be a part of who we are.